Hello, everyone. It's time for the general meeting to start. Today from UCSD, we have Dr. Sanders and Stephen Chen presenting.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Hi, everybody. My name is Ila Sanders. I'm faculty at the School of Pharmacy here at UCSD. I've been here for about, it's like 5.5 years now. And I went to pharmacy school, and it's all there. Thanks, Stephen. I went to pharmacy school in UCSF. Oh, you're dating me, Steve. I didn't think you were going to put up the years.
I got it.
I went to pharmacy school at UCSF a very long time ago, as you can see there. And then I stayed on there for another year, did residency, and then decided to specialize in oncology. And so my path to oncology was a little bit, I guess, unique in a way, but I ended up doing research between undergrad and pharmacy school in an area cancer research, and so I became interested in the area. Ended up going into a PGY2, an oncology pharmacy residency. Ended up in Texas, and then I ended up been at Skaggs for about 5.5 years now, and it's probably the best decision I've ever made in my career. Very happy here. Does anybody have any questions about my path or anything about that? I'm happy to answer them if you'd like. No? Okay. Stephen, go for it.
So next, hey everyone, my name is Stephen. I'm a third-year pharmacy student at UC San Diego. I'm super excited to talk to you guys all about pharmacy school in general, but more specifically about UCSD. I actually graduated from UC Irvine back in 2017. My major was PharmSci. I'm sure a lot of you guys up here are also PharmSci as well. So feel free to ask me questions if you guys have any. I applied to this pharmacy school exactly 3 years ago, and I'm super excited to be coming back to talk to you guys about my journey to pharmacy school, and also a little bit about what I've learned so far in pharmacy school. So I guess just a little bit background on what I'm doing as a third year at UC San Diego. I'm currently working at Kaiser Permanente. I'm at one of the outpatient intern, one of the intern pharmacists. When you get into pharmacy school, you get an intern license with the Board of California. So it's highly encouraged students to work, at different places, CVS, Walgreens. Some people work in the hospital. And then also currently serving as the president for a chapter. It's called APHA, CPHA, which is American Pharmacy Association and California Pharmacy Association. So later on, I'll talk a little bit about the different campus organization we have. And then I'm also involved in free clinic. I'm doing a little bit of research as well. But it's a mandatory requirement for us to do research before we get our Doctor of Pharmacy. And I was also partially involved with OCPHA too. So, just because I'm in San Diego doesn't mean, I can be involved in Orange County. So, because I'm originally from Irvine. So, I was the digital outreach social media manager for Orange County Pharmacy Association. So I'm super excited to talk to you guys about, our presentation today. And I guess I'll, throw it back to Dr. Sanders, which will start off our presentation today.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
So just to give you a sense for who we are as a school, what just happened? As a school, we have about 65 to 70 students per year in our school, and we have 54 faculty members. And more often than not, you'll see the 25 of us that teach in the clinical, the division of clinical pharmacy, where there's about 25 of us in that group. And so the majority of us teach in everything from the very basic and the very beginning of pharmacy school and pharmacy practice all the way to therapeutic, is where I teach right now. And Stephen's in my class currently.
Yeah.
And we have a very innovative curriculum, specifically with regard to the P2 year. A big part of what you do as a pharmacist, be it in the community setting or the inpatient setting, or, can you scoot back? What just happened? Or where I'm still figuring, I'm not terribly tech savvy, everybody, so bear with me. And so, you work as a team. I work as a team right now of, I work in a hematology clinic at UCSD. with patients that have bone marrow transplants. I work closely with my nurse practitioners, my nurses, as well as my physicians. And so right now I'm missing them terribly because I am working currently remotely for a time during the social distancing period. So I was just talking to a colleague today about how much I'm missing my team. And part of that is that we like to start that team building early on in your career as a student. And so what we do is we have a curriculum where you have classes with the first year medical students during your P2 year. And so what I think is so unique about that is that you start those collaborations and those relationships very early on. And you get a very unique curriculum compared to other places. In addition to that, to top that all off, we have a really unique pass-and-pass system. We're I think one of the first schools that has done this, and for pharmacy, when I was a student, it was all great, a very long, long time ago. And I think this pass-no-pass system really allows for our students to, it promotes collegiality and a lot of, I feel like it's less, oh my goodness, it's less competitive for patients. In addition to that, what we see in our students is that there's a very high board passing rate and a residency match rate. It's amazing to see what our students are doing, where they're going, and it's amazing to see how many of them pass the boards. In addition to that, our tuition is a ton lower than private schools. I know tuition's changed and evolved over time, granted, but you look at this compared to other private schools, it's significantly lower. In addition to that, we have patient care interactions starting in year 1. So we have IPPE. So these are the introductory experiential experiences where you get to interact with patients and understand what does a pharmacist do in various settings as well. In addition to that, we have numerous clinical, sorry, I'm trying to move this cursor, there we go. Numerous diverse clinical training sites as well, including the free medical clinics. We have relationships with multiple health systems across the county and in Orange County as well, as I know many of you are based in Orange County. We also have free medical clinics that I'm sure Stephen can also talk more about. He's more familiar with that, being intimately involved in the free clinic setting. We have a national research leader as well. We're a national research leader. If you look at the research dollars that we bring in, it's truly amazing. And what we have that's amazing, not only from a research sense, we have people that are everything from PharmDs that are focused in clinic and in clinical research to people that are PharmD PhDs that want to translate their bedside work to translate it into clinical practice. Let me give you an example. So right now I'm working with Dr. Jeremiah Momper looking at a drug called lenalidomide that's used in patients for multiple myeloma. And we're looking at pharmacokinetic modeling, which I'm not well versed in, but I understand how lenalidomide works. But he's really well versed in the modeling. And so we're combining our two brains to see how we can impact patient care, which I think is super cool and very innovative and promotes collaboration. We also have a post-sophomore fellowship with Janssen as well. And there's a lot, as being so intimately close in just proximity to industry with several industry relationships locally, there's a lot of opportunities in industry as well. So, and then finally, we have the novel and entrepreneurship training and a mini MBA, which is free. So we have the Rady School of Management here at UCSD, which offers this mini MBA and offers novel entrepreneurship training, which I think is amazing. Nowadays, with the field of pharmacy that's evolved so rapidly over time, that it's important to have these skills that if you can get them while you're in training, it's an amazing opportunity. And then finally, we have master's degree programs for not only public health, but also drug development and product management. Overall, above and beyond all of this stuff that you see here written here, what I want to emphasize to you is that we are truly the Skaggs family. A lot of people will say, like, what do you mean by that? I have had colleagues that have come from places, from other institutions, and they say, I've never seen the inside of another colleague's home. I've never seen this kind of solidarity amongst the faculty. And so what I think is truly special about our school is that we really are a Skaggs family. And we support each other, be it from a faculty sense, we support each other when we're going through hard times. We support our students, where our doors are open for the students virtually now, as you can see, because of COVID, but our doors are always open. Because of our small class size, I like to think that we have a very open relationship with my students. And I think one of the things I miss, I started teaching on Monday, is I saw a whole lot of black screens in their names when I was teaching on Monday. And that just made me feel so sad, because I love seeing the students' faces, and I miss seeing that. And I really miss that, because we have this connection being that I know, I would say the majority of my students' names, faces, for the most part, I mean, 240, probably not, but I would say the class I'm teaching right now, I do know their names, their faces, and who they are. If I've done research with them, I know them even better. So I want you to take that away too, because it's the small class size really lends to a community feel, which I think is vastly different from a number of schools. I went at UCSF when I was there, we had 120 students, and I walked away from that probably experiencing an amazing time. And I walked away with probably the 10 friends that I text on a regular basis. So we have text threads, and I see them at least once or twice a year. But what I think that I hardly see anybody else from my class, but I feel like in this group, because we're so much smaller, it's an amazing community feel. What do you think about that, Stephen?
No, I definitely agree. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I decided to, choose UC San Diego Skaggs School of Pharmacy. Kind of going back to, Dr. Sanders was saying about the student and faculty relationship, not just getting to know the students. I think faculty really care about us. And I think for me, that's part of it. But the other part is also we get, so close with our classmates. We know each other by names, and then we hang out with each other. And then, and also on top of it, we have pass no pass. So that really helps us as a group to actually, work together rather than, back in undergrad. I know everyone's mindset is, weeding out each other. I went through that too back in UC Irvine. With such a big classroom, everyone is trying to get on top of each other. Of course, there's still going to be competition, but friendly competition. Everyone is, help each other out with research project, with notes. People share notes, and generally want each other to do well and apply for residency or fellowship or whatever your goal is afterwards. Yeah, so that's a great point. Thanks for sharing that.
Of course, I would say it's a very collegial community environment, not only amongst the faculty, but also amongst the students as well.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Okay, so just as a heads up, our summer open house is in June. We do have an early submission process where you can apply by August 31st of 2020, and fall interviews for this early submission process are Friday, October. Any questions about that? Yeah, great. Okay, I'm gonna move this down. So as you can see, I try to fiddle with the screen, and then it makes there we go. So Skaggs community. So we were established to basically serve the needs of the citizens of the state of California, not only the nation and as well as the global community. We've refined our mission and our vision over time, and we have a three-part mission. One is to provide the best education possible for the students, provide patient-oriented service, and provide top-notch research opportunities. And we continually change the curriculum to meet the evolving role of pharmacists. We realize that the role of the pharmacist has changed and is changing over time, and we're looking not only in the immediate area, but we're looking beyond 10, 20 years down the line. How is technology, how is business going to change the field of pharmacy, and what skills do we need to give our students in order to succeed in these evolving times when it comes to technology and business? And so that's part of the reason we have all those opportunities for the mini MBA, as well as the fellowships and additional education.
Right.
So this is,
please
go ahead, Stephen.
So, I mean, over here, one of the things was being a student here, we actually have a town hall meeting with our academic professor. We can actually give them feedback on our classes. And we actually, just through my 3 years here at Skaggs, I actually saw some courses change. For example, we were taking histology our first year. It was a great course. We learned a lot, but at the end, we felt that, at the end, it didn't really fit in quite, with our curriculum, so they took it out. But we added health policy, since especially the drug cost is going up, and we're spending more and more on healthcare. And they added another class, for health policy. Just a lot of fine tuning adjustment that our school does makes me feel like our student voice is very, valued, even though there's only 66 of us. And then actually just being here such a short amount of time, I actually see a lot of the progression of the curriculum, makes me feel like, the voices of our students very important. And then our school really cares about what we do down the road. Just want to put that out there.
Thanks, Stephen. Mm-hmm. We really do take the time to do that. So I appreciate you mentioning that. Mm-hmm. So just to give you a sense for what our campus looks like, on the left, you'll see the Skaggs School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences building. On the first floor is all of our lecture hall. I wouldn't say halls, I would say rooms because they're small. They're lecture rooms, essentially. On the first floor, as well as the dean's suite, as well as the class. What do you guys call it, Stephen? It's like the class area.
The mailroom.
Mailroom, but you guys have a nickname for it. I don't remember. No?
Isn't it the mailroom?
The mailroom, maybe. Lounge area.
That's a secret code that I'm not aware of.
Okay. Anyways, so there's a lounge area for the students there, and then we have a beautiful. You can see here a beautiful courtyard in the middle between on the right side right here, and often I'll see our students gathering, playing, football, frisbee, what have you, between the two buildings. And then we have the School of Medicine just here on the right. And then on the left, we have the medical education and telemedicine building, where a lot of the classes with the medical students are, and a lot of our objective structured clinical exams called OSCEs, where we have these basically exams where you interact with standardized patients. And sometimes it's done in conjunction with a nurse as well as a physician. Our medical students with a pharmacist, a physician, and a nurse evaluating you. And also we have it just separately as purely pharmacy only. So one of our faculty, Dr. Linda Ottishu and Dr. Jen Namba, have worked together to create an amazing OSCE program that I wish I had when I was a student. I think it would help me a ton, but it's an amazing program. Okay, so I had mentioned before these introductory pharmacy practice experiences, and the goal of these is really to achieve practice competencies. I'm so sorry. And the responsibility increases as you have more experience. So this occurs anywhere from years 1 through 3. It can occur during the summertime, during the school year, on breaks, however you want to do that. And in addition to that, students also participate in the San Diego run student-free medical clinics led by Dr. Furkowski. Dr. Furkowski and I were actually, it's hard for me to call him that because I know there's Eduardo. We were classmates. So it's great to see, in pharmacy school, we graduated in the same class. So it's great to see him, leading this amazing adventure of the student-run free clinics, which is amazing. Anything?
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, you got cut off for a second.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah. So I guess from a student's perspective, when it comes to IPPE, I do want to talk a little bit about the free clinic. So Dr. Furkowski, he's a professor on our campus. He's also in charge of the free clinic. So down here we have 3 different free clinics down in San Diego, and I think as a student, that's one of the best things that you can actually, you can actually practice what you learn. So what it is each student is actually required to go on a rotation through our clinic. So as a first year student, I know, it's kind of intimidating. That was me 2 years ago, actually, when I first started UCSD. And then they're like, okay, each person have to rotate through a clinic. And, it was kind of intimidating at first, but, it turned out to be a great experience. So over there, of course, you get a chance to do some filling. So free clinic, of course, is a free service we offer to low income or transit wholeness population. So those are the vulnerable population we have here. So you get to fill a prescription for them. And the second thing you get to do is you get to run with the medical students. So that was actually really unique. I mean, it was very intimidating for me as a first year student because I didn't know anything. But I was able to go on, to see the patient with one of the medical students. But, they respect us a lot and they ask us, oh, do you have any questions? Or, what do you think of this person's drug therapy? And of course, back then I didn't know that much, but it was still regardless a great experience. And then besides this, your required mandatory ones, we actually have different managerial positions at free clinic that students can actually apply for it. So for example, I was one of the Nuvax clinic manager. I was one of the 6 students to each free clinic where we'll kind of go through every single patient to see who's indicating for either Pneumovax or Prevnar. So those are the 2 vaccines that are used to prevent pneumococcal diseases. So we kind of went through different type of, screening process for the patients. We actually get to use what we have, it's called EPIC, which is basically a health system, online version, if you will, and you get to look at patients' chart. And of course, and then we have opportunity to talk to the med students, to, give them some recommendations. So that was a pretty cool experience. And besides the Pneumovax I did, we also have diabetes clinic as well. And we also have immunizations. We're a front line when it comes to giving immunizations at a free clinic. And back in 2017, there was an outbreak in hepatitis A. I don't know if you guys were aware of it. But I was one of the students who were out there giving shots to those populations. So, there's a lot of potential when it comes to free clinic. And I'm really glad that UCSD has it and really encourages students to not only do the mandatory ones you're required as a first year, but there's just so many opportunities for you to, go back and contribute and give back to the community. So it's a very good, it's a really good resource for us students.
Thanks, Stephen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You heard me mentioning about the OSCEs earlier, and this is a great example of what the OSCEs look like. So I see Dr. Best, several of our students here. And so what this is basically is where you work with other medical students, nurses, other pharmacy students, and work together to develop a plan with a standardized patient. It's an amazing process where we have, state-of-the-art equipment, from technology to this fake medical equipment that is it's fake, but it can give you real-time data as well to see how you're doing. And if you're having the correct input, correct idea of what to do. So it's an amazing, amazing opportunity to put your skills to the test and not only test how well you're absorbing the knowledge, to test us how well we're teaching you. And so I appreciate that part of it. And I think these real life situations are so key and valuable to improving your clinical skills and taking care of patients. Anything you want to add, Stephen, about your experiences in OSCEs?
Yeah, I actually want to share an experience. So we have OSCE. We had a last quarter. So my centralized patient was actually here to pick up his warfarin. So for those who don't know, warfarin, or it's a type of medication, it's an anticoagulant, and it's used to prevent blood clot. But if you're not taking correctly, it could lead to bleeding, which could be really serious. So the patient actually came and he wanted to get his medication, but I had to go back and identify that the pharmacy actually, filled the wrong one. So, he was yelling at me, even though it was acting, but it was really real. So of course you have to sort through the problem, apologize, offer solutions, prevent that it won't happen again, and change up the doses if necessary, and check his INR. Basically, it tells you whether you're more likely to get a clot or you can get a bleeding. So, even though it was acting, but it was really real. And through the camera, as Dr. Sanders said, faculty will be behind it, evaluating both the way you handle it and both your clinical knowledge. So it kind of goes both ways, but it's really a great experience for our students as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think I learned something new from you guys as much as I do, as much as you do. So it's awesome.
Thank you.
So in addition to that, we have amazing APPEs. And so our APPEs run from everything from, outpatient clinical care and compounding pharmacies to intensive care units, transitions of care, infusion centers, HIV clinics, pediatrics, geriatrics, pain and palliative, psychiatry, bone marrow transplants, infectious disease, as well as industry. So there's and managed care, of course. So there's a huge amount of opportunities. Have you picked yours yet, Stephen? Or you guys are just about to?
Just
you did?
Yeah, just yesterday actually. We just got
that's amazing. I can't wait to hear where you end up.
Yeah, no, it's super fun. First one I got was actually a cardiothoracic transplant, so I'm happy.
Oh, that's awesome. With Dr. Feist?
Yeah.
Cool. Wonderful. So there's amazing opportunities to learn in a wide variety of areas. So if you're like somewhat unsure what area you're interested in, you've got plenty of opportunities to explore. Any questions about this? So one thing to remember too is that the American Association of Colleges of Pharmacy, they state that by 2025, 50% of primary care physicians will have a formal relationship with their pharmacists. I hope it's more. I know that from a specialty standpoint, because I'm in a very specialized field, I know that we have a very formal relationship, and I am looking forward to seeing where the primary care physicians have this formal relationship, primarily because the sheer number of primary care physicians is dwindling because there's so many physicians going to specialized care, and I think that's a great area where ambulatory care pharmacists can make and play a huge role alongside other advanced practice providers as well. In addition to that, just to look at the year 2 of the curriculum, we really embrace collegiality. And this focuses on the basic biomedical sciences that all professional students require. And this is primarily taught by School of Medicine faculty. And we're the only school in the nation to offer this joint curriculum. So that's really unique about our school. And like I mentioned, when you get into clinical practice after you graduate from pharmacy school, you're doing a whole lot of teamwork. And starting those relationships early on, understanding how a physician thinks, because their brains, I will tell you, having a sibling who's a physician and having dear friends that are physicians from my time at UCSF, their brains work completely different than ours. It's just the way they process information is different, and they don't think about the fine details sometimes. And so that's where I think we can truly collaborate and come up with plans to optimize patient care together. And I think we're so unique and awesome, and that's how we started early on in your career as a pharmacy student. And again, we have our grading system. It really does promote collaboration. We have a pass, no pass, or fail, as you can say, as well as an honors. The goal of this really is to reduce competition, promote teamwork, and getting a good handle on the knowledge. And so one thing, for example, I was telling my students earlier this week, Stephen can corroborate, is instead of just rote memorizing, I want them to understand some, XYZ about a drug so they can understand what are the important clinical pearls to tell the patient, instead of just memorizing things rote. And I think because we have this lack of grading, we promote that teamwork, that collegiality between the students, which I think is incredibly unique. And so to give you an understanding of the exam 2000, I think this is 2018 board exam results, our NAPLEX pass rate was well above that of UCSF. As a UCSF alum, I'm a little embarrassed to see this, but I'm proud, being a UCSD faculty, I'm incredibly proud because these are my students. We're doing great on the NAPLEX and kicking UCSF behind with a 92% pass rate, significantly higher than UCSF. So I think that's important to note here, that our students are doing excellent on the exams. And I will say, despite my comment just now, I will say we have an excellent and collegial relationship with UCSF. Many of us on the faculty are UCSF alums, so we have an amazing relationship with them, and we are starting to do more collaborations from an educational standpoint with them as well, which is an amazing endeavor. Okay, our residency and fellowship match rate for last year, so proud of my students, was 79%. That I think is incredible compared to other schools. I don't need to name any, I think if you just ask for this rate, looking at other schools, this is an incredibly high rate, match rate. Anything you want to add, Stephen, about that? Because I know it's often a concern for students and residents.
Right. Well, I mean, just give you guys a perspective of what the residency and fellowship match rate is. So usually, I believe, correct me if I'm not correct, but nationally usually it's around 50 or 60%. I know it's different year by year. So, you know, it's, as a student at UCSD, I feel really comfortable that our school actually prepares us when, you know, when it comes to applying for residency. And when I was applying, so some of the concern that came up to me was, how do UC San Diego students, how do they get residency with just pass no pass, because you don't have GPA? And UCSD has been doing this for a few years now, and you know, students have no problem getting residency. And a lot of times our dean, I believe, also includes a letter saying why we have pass no pass and why our students are competent even though we don't have a GPA system. But I think partially it's important to understand is, as you might know, medical students they only have pass no pass. So I believe one of the, when the school was coming up, a lot of faculty believe that why should pharmacy school have grades then? If we work so closely with physicians and technically we take the same exam with them. It's just that our exam has more pharmacology and while their exam have more diagnosing. That's the only main differences. But other than that, our second year, a lot of times we're learning the same thing. We're actually taking the same exam as if I were in medical school. So, when it comes to students, before I was a little bit concerned, but now after learning more a little bit, and I felt really comfortable, and I hope I was able to, answer some of the confusion, or at least me when I was applying for pharmacy school and looking into different type of pharmacy school.
Awesome, thank you for that, Stephen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now going on to probably the part that you're most interested in, which is the application process. So what does that involve? So the admissions requirements involve completion of a bachelor's degree prior to coming to the school. There's no specific undergraduate major required. We require a minimum overall GPA of 3, but we do not require the PCAT. Does anyone have any questions about that? Because I know that's different compared to other schools.
What's the maybe average GPA for acceptance? Like maybe 3.4, 3.3?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember. Do you remember, Stephen, what the average? It's about the same every year, but
I think it's about the same every single year. Of course, it depends from classes to classes, but I think my class is around 3 point. So it's just one of the components when it comes to admissions.
Yeah,
but it really depends from year to year. Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
And yes, we do have this minimum overall grade point average, but we look at, when we're evaluating, we look at the person as a whole, right? And so holistic. We take a very holistic approach to this, to the admissions process. So there is a PharmCAS application.
Sorry, can I interrupt a little bit?
Yes.
So for course requirement, do you like have specific like course that you recommend to take? Like some school, like they want anatomy, physiology, what's that, microbiology, some economics, some stat. Do you have something like that?
I believe so. I can pull up the exact list for you so I don't misquote it. If you give me a moment, I can pull that up.
Yeah,
do you have that?
Dr. Sanders, I don't, let me see if I can find it too. But when I was applying, there's definitely a list that, you can go off. What is your major right now at UCI?
You're in PharmSci, pharmaceutical science.
Okay. All right, so I think as the PharmSci major, it makes it a lot easier too, because a lot of PharmSci or UCI PharmSci requirement actually lines up with that of UCSD already. But that's something that we can look up and tell you the exact answer. But as for a few courses, I mean, for me personally, I didn't take anatomy. I didn't do microbiome. I believe cell bio, D103. That's one of the required one. Also a speech class, PharmSci 90, if I remember correctly, with Dr. Shiners. That class I did that too. But that's something that we can send out as well. There is actual exact checklist.
Yeah, there is a checklist. I can find that for you and we can send it out to Christina so you have the accurate list. So back in the day, I had to do anatomy and econ and public speaking. I do remember that, but that was a long time ago. So I won't quote you on what I had to do because that's probably not accurate. That's most definitely not accurate. I can get the list and share that with you, with Christina.
Yeah, because some school like for anatomy or microbiology class, they say like it should be upper division class, but like
Mhm.
mostly I will take it at community college, so I don't know is that any different or is there any changing right now?
That's a great question. So let me write down these questions and I will make sure.
Oh,
I
I
will,
actually found the list. I'll still have Christina send it out to the
can you
the
read that
entire.
out? I couldn't find it, Stephen. Could you
Oh
read it
yeah,
out?
yeah, of course. Let me send it to the chat that everyone can see actually. So this one, well, I mean, all of you guys go to UCSD. This is actually a very specific list of the contract between UCSD, Skaggs School of Pharmacy, and also UC Irvine. So let me see. Did you have a question about econ? Is this econ 1 or 28 or 20B? For me personally, I remember doing econ 28, but it doesn't really matter one of the three. But you do need one of the econ requirements.
Yeah, and because some of my class were from community college as well, so that's why I want to be able to match it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure
Like,
you transfer, right? Yeah, that would be
yeah,
a good question actually. Dr. Saunders and I will write it down. It's more of a for admission, you know, personnel or faculty and staff. We can definitely ask them, and then we can have Christina send out an email.
yes, thank you. Because some school I see like upper division only. Why I know community college only count lower division, so I'm
Right.
just worried if I retake it at community college, is that count or not?
Those are great questions.
Right.
And which one are you taking in community college so we can get a sense for which specific?
I'm thinking about taking anatomy and microbiology in community college since most of the school I applied required the two of them. And
Okay,
because we in PharmSci, it's hard to get into biology course for micro and anatomy. So that's why I'm thinking about taking as a community college.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll reach out to the dean, associate dean of admissions, and get an accurate answer. Thank you for pulling that up, Stephen. I appreciate your backup. With regard to the PharmCast application, there's a checklist. It's very succinct, a succinct checklist on PharmCast, and if you need a fee waiver for the application, that is possible, and the links are there for you. The deadline is November 1st, and applications are available in mid-July of every year. Okay, so if you want more information about our admission to our school, you can go to these various buttons under admissions, and there's an apply now and the supplemental application that's necessary for applying to our school. And I would highly recommend you start early with your letter of intent and requesting your transcript. If you ever have some questions you want to ask, you can do a live chat on our website with our admissions team at pharmacy.ucsd.edu. There's you can click on the admissions tab and there's a live chat function right there for you. So we recommend that you take upper division science courses and you thoroughly explore the field of pharmacy prior to your interview. Does anyone have any questions about what that means? Thoroughly exploring the field. Okay. And so your pathway to exploring the profession. So like understanding what is pharmacy or a health related field. You could volunteer or work in a pharmacy, shadowing a pharmacy in various settings, like for a significant amount of hours. What other experiences are we looking for? Are you involved in community service in various healthcare settings? Are you involved in pre-pharmacy organizations and student organizations, research, leadership positions? What other extracurriculars do? You should really list all of your activities, pharmacy and non-pharmacy, on your application, including employment, so we can get an understanding of what you're dedicating your time to and where, and so we can get a holistic view of what your day-to-day and what your year looks like. With regard to the timetable, we do interview offers in late November, early December, do interviews in January, and the offers will be made before March, and we need to fill 65 to 70 positions, as you know. Okay, I'm going to pass it on to Stephen, who's going to talk about student information.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Saunders.
Of course, you're so welcome.
Thank you. All right. Let's see.
Hi, I had a question.
Yeah, of course.
Is it rolling admissions or is it not rolling admissions?
Sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. All right. So when it comes to Roman admission or not, well, of course there is not, but UCSD is now doing an early decision. So if you apply to that, I believe you have to commit. That's one of the newer things that we're trying over here. But when I was applying back in 2017, it was not. It wasn't a rolling admission.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, and then now next I'll talk a little bit about student lives. Okay, so I guess the first part I want to talk about is, of course, at UC San Diego, really, we embrace, promote, and support diversity. So that's a picture of our faculty. As you can tell, we have, a variety of different diversity, and we'll try to include that in our student profile as well. And on top of this, we also have a lot of campus organization, not just at Skaggs, but also Graduate Student Association at UC San Diego. I think one of the best thing about going to a pharmacy school where there's an undergrad division or a graduate division, which makes, student life a lot better. So besides the organization we have at Skaggs, we can actually join and also be part of the graduate student associations, all the master, the PhD, you name it. If they have any type of interest group, LGBTQ or any type of specific ethnicity or any groups or anything, some of our students are also involved with them as well. So it's just the part that our school really cares about us and really embrace the different diversity and background we come from. Here we go. Okay, so this is just an example of the diverse campus-wide organizations. So all the ones that you see over here are not necessarily with Skaggs School of Pharmacy, but there are the graduate student associations. So, if you're a student here, you're more than welcome to join any of those campus organizations that you might identify yourself with. And this is one of the best part about having so many different graduate students on campus. Okay, next we'll talk about student life. So this is a picture of student ambassador. So I'm in the back. So usually, each year is about 10 to 20 students or sometimes more. So those are the ambassador, if you will, we're kind of representing our school. So in the future, we're having outreach events. You might see a few of our faces. And yeah, let me talk a little bit more about student life. So I guess one of the things for me, when I was choosing school was actually housing and also transportation. Of course, the ranking is important, the academic, the education is important, but at the same time, you're likely going to be in the city for 3 to 4 years, depending on where you do your rotation your 4th year. So when I was applying, this was an important aspect for me as well. But, I know a few of you have probably been down here to La Jolla or San Diego in general. It's a beautiful city. It's a safe campus. La Jolla is located in the neighborhood. So because of that reason, a lot of people, they walk at nighttime or you bike, and, it's relatively safe. Next thing I want to talk about is also on-campus housing. So right now I'm living in graduate housing, and they're actually currently building more. So when I first started, they guaranteed 2 graduate housing. And then I believe now they actually expanded to 3. They just finished 2 brand new graduate housing over here. So you might ask me, why would you want to stay in graduate campus housing? So of course it's more affordable. For me, I live in a studio. Everything's included in my rent, so I don't have to worry about paying utilities or water or any trash or any Wi-Fi or anything. So it's very convenient, and that just takes your mind off what you have to worry about, and you can focus on school, your extracurriculum, or spending time with your friends. And there's also a lot of different transportation options, as I mentioned before. They just finished building one more parking structure outside of Skaggs. A few of my friends, they do commute. They do live outside La Jolla. Parking in the past have been an issue, but now they're building more, trying to accommodate for that. They also build bridges as well. For me, I can either walk to school in 10, 15 minutes in the morning, or I can jump onto the shuttle, which takes also 10 to 15 minutes as well. So it's really convenient for me as a student. I don't have to worry about, there's going to be traffic going to school or anything. So it's very convenient. I think they always try to constantly try to expand, but also improve students' life. Okay. And then next, I'm going to talk about the international opportunities. As you might know, Skaggs has a lot of different opportunity for us. So a lot of people can actually go to international to help out. One of the example is one of our organization on campus. They actually do missionary trips down in Mexico. Myself, I actually went on one of those few trips before. It just, expands your CV or your resume, and you get to build a different culture and different diversity out there. And the other way you can kind of go to, outside of the US is when you're in your 4th year. What Dr. Sanders mentioned, APPE, the Advanced Practice Pharmacy, profession. For those ones, when you do on rotation, you can actually go outside the country. So we have contract in Taiwan, Vietnam, and I think a few other places. So our classmates are actually doing international rotations. So it's very cool. You could either set it up where the school has already, it's already contracted with certain hospitals in those nations already. So it's a pretty cool experience. Okay, I think I skipped a few slides over here. But of course, it's not just about studying. We also do fun activity as well. The picture on the left is the intramural sports team. So those are actually all our classmates. They love playing basketball and they actually won a championship. The one upper right, that's culture fusions. Usually we, again, going back to diversity, inclusion, and and appreciating different cultures, we have a big event. It's hosted by one of our organizations on campus, where people wear their traditional clothing. They build, where they cook traditional food to share with each other. And the picture in the middle is called Fun Run, which is also another our campus organizations. So that one is a fundraising fun run, if you will. All the proceeds goes to free clinic. So this is really cool opportunity. You not only get to exercise, but also get back to your community. And as you can tell, one of the faculty in the middle, the one wearing heart, it says Be Mine, that's actually Dr. Ferkowski, and he wears a heart costume to run with us every single year. So pretty cool. And then those are just more opportunity we have on the different events we do. The one on the bottom right, that's part of the action team. So basically they're a group of people who host different type of events on campus, and we usually celebrate Chinese New Year's and also Valentine's Day every single year. Okay, and then let's see here, and then professional activities. So one of the things I want to talk about is different type of conferences you get to go to. The picture on the top left, this happened in 2019. That one was in Chicago, I believe. So the school actually really pushed us to explore, outside our comfort zone. School actually provide us $200 every single year to go on any type of conferences. If you don't use it, of course, you lose that funding. But I think it's great because our school really wants us to go out and connect with other pharmacy folks, whether it's your colleague or, future employee and so on and so forth. And myself, I've been to a few conferences. And to me, I think that's one of the best part, to be able to connect with my other friends who are also in other pharmacy school, but also be in touch and also build a relationship with faculty, researcher, you name it. The one right in the middle, where a student's actually giving an immunization shot to our dean, that's Dean McCarroll, that's our dean at Skaggs School of Pharmacy. So we have a lot of those hands-on opportunity. When you guys eventually get to pharmacy school, you'll go through an immunization training course where you'll be able to give, you will know how to do flu shots. And we actually started this opportunity where we're like, why don't we give vaccine to our faculty? We know how to do them. Even though they are guinea pigs, but it's still a great way for to a lot of bonding with our faculty. That just shows how close we are with our faculty at school. So that's pretty unique. And the picture on the right, that's a group of our students at the U.S. Capitol. So a lot of times they go to either Sacramento in California, or sometimes they go to D.C. Myself, I've been to D.C. before to advocate the advancing field of pharmacy. So I'm not sure if many of you guys know, California is a very progressive state. Pharmacists now has more and more different type of role and also expectations. One of them was SB 493, which is a Senate bill that allow pharmacists to dispense hormonal contraceptive without a doctor's prescription, and also furnish travel medications. Also dispense naloxone, which is an antagonist for an opiate, which is which is an issue in the U.S. right now. So in California, our pharmacists have a lot of roles and a lot of responsibility, but on a national level, we actually have to continue to fight for our status. So those are just some of the students over there advocating for what we believe. Either they go to the state level at Sacramento or in DC for national level. Picture on the left bottom is that's Dr. Jerome Adams. He gave a talk at our school and was actually a joint event with the medical students. So very cool. And then on the bottom picture, that's a picture of me and also with a few other board members from my organization, American Pharmacy Associations. And we actually won the best chapter award at one of the conferences. This was last year in Seattle. So a lot of opportunity, not just school, not just fun activity, but a lot of professional activity and also international opportunity I talked about already. Next, I want to talk about the Phi Lambda Sigma, the Pharmacy Leadership Association, or Society rather. This is basically to honor those who have been involved as Skaggs. So we definitely want people not just to study, but also be part of different organizations. So the requirement is if you have a certain leadership position for 3 years, then you get to induct it into Phi Lambda Sigma. We call it PLS over here. And then the picture on the right is California Pharmacy Student Leadership Conferences, CAPSLE, which is I was also part of it as well. This is a leadership conference. Usually occurs in Sacramento, where last year was in Palm Springs, I believe. But usually for those one, we are in a group of 8. So I have 7 other teammates on my board, and then we get to choose a topic. And my topic was on marijuana. As you guys know, as future pharmacists, a lot of times some of the pharmacists, they get asked about, hey, I'm taking medicinal use marijuana. Is it okay if I take it with this drug? Is it okay if I'm using this? Is it fine? As a future drug expert, I think it's very important for us to understand, especially with now marijuana is legalized both for medicinal and recreational use in California. So you're going to see more and more of your patient using these medications. So that was our topic that we chose at the conference. And then after that, we actually sent a survey across the US to all the pharmacy students just to see whether you feel comfortable, talking to your patient about marijuana or cannabis or any type of CBD oil or anything like that. So it was a pretty cool leadership conference and also a research project. And that was actually my research project. Dr. Sanders, if you want to chime in, you can feel free anytime. But as a student here, they really value researching. So every single person will have to do a research. But if you guys have any question, we can answer them later on. Do you have anything to add right now, Dr. Sanders?
Other than that, we enjoy doing research with our students because it gives us opportunity not only to mentor and get to know students, but also to kind of help shape their career and help them figure out what path they want to go down. Maybe they'll be like, oh, research is not for me. I don't want to go into academia. Or I actually really like this. Maybe academia is the right route for me. Or I really like what you're doing clinically to get this data. Tell me more about that. So it allows the student not only to figure out what avenue they want to take in their career, but also helps us too. And we learn a lot from students when they ask a great question. So I think it's research opportunities are a learning opportunity for both the faculty as well as the students.
Cool, thank you so much. All right, and then next I want to talk a little bit about, so this is just a picture of our graduating class from last year, I believe, actually. So, going back to the whole Skaggs family, a lot of times our school actually follows up one student graduate. And one student graduate, they can go to residency, they can pursue a fellowship, they can practice in community, or they can go into industry, or academia, ambulatory care, or hospital setting. A lot of different pathway. So that's why we have alumni reunion. Usually that happens, you can see this class of 2009 and 2014. So it's pretty cool just to have our alumni come back. And a lot of our alumni are actually leaders in pharmacy. So it's very cool that, having them come back and share their opportunity or share their journey with us. Okay. And then we actually have a welcome video. Did you want to play this, Dr. Sanders?
Go for it.
All right, perfect. Not sure if it's working, or maybe you have to try from your end actually.
Let me see. Whoops. What just happened? I'm trying to make it bigger.
Make it bigger? Okay. If not, maybe I can do it. But meanwhile, if you guys have any other questions while we're trying to pull up this video, you can either unmute yourself or you can just type in the group chat and then we can answer them.
There we go.
You got it? Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
What just happened?
Maybe let me try from my end.
Sorry, Stephen.
That's okay.
Hello?
Yeah.
Can
Do
I
you
have
have a question?
Yeah. So you talk about like the grading system in UC San Diego about honor and pass and no pass. What's
Huh?
the difference between the honor and pass and no pass?
Yeah, that's a great question. So,
Yeah.
did you want to answer that, Dr. Sanders?
Sure, I'm happy to.
Okay.
So basically the way it goes is that pass is, our pass, like for example, for therapeutics is 70% and higher, and then pass with honors is 90% and higher.
Yeah.
Do you have
So
anything else to add to that, Stephen? Does it change a little bit from
yeah,
class?
it does actually. So for example, for our second year, usually the passing really depends. They usually try to draw the passing line at least, I believe, 2 standard deviation will, within the mean or the medium. So it really depends, but generally speaking, it's going to be 70%. And then whereas for honor, it's going to be 90% or above. And the great thing about it is usually there's not a limit or a cap. Of course, it varies from classes to classes. But a lot of times our professor, they say if everyone gets over 90%, I'll give honors to everyone. So that's a great thing about having a pass, no pass, and also honor system.
Is that ultimately, or is that like you need to like enroll to get honor or something like that? Or I just don't understand it.
Oh, you don't? Yeah. So when you apply for it, when you add in courses, that you're gonna take, you have an options whether it's gonna be honors, pass or no pass.
Oh,
And whereas the other end, if it's an elective, then you're gonna get S or U. S stands for satisfactory, U is unsatisfactory. So those are for elective only. So your main courses, let's say for therapeutics, for example, the classes I'm taking with Dr. Sanders, when you enroll in the classes, you're gonna pick that options: pass, no pass, or honors. So whatever you get, let's say if I get 89%, I'm gonna get a P. If I get 70%, I'm still gonna get a P. If I get 90%, then I'll get an H for honors. Does that kind of answer your question?
Oh yeah. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. And I got the video now, Dr. Sanders. It's just a short video. Or yeah.
Also, there's a chat question. Just to
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let me take a look over here. Okay. Hi, since there is a large emphasis on research at UCSD, is having research in undergrad a key component of missions you're looking for? What kind of extracurriculum were you involved in doing UCI? Okay, and then Ken, if you have a question. Okay. I guess, yeah, go for it.
So for research, I think it's valuable to have research experience, just to show breadth of knowledge. I think it's an added plus. Would you agree with that, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, it's not one of the things that it has to be checked off when you're applying for it. I mean, personally, I did research back in undergrad, but a few of my classmates never had research, but maybe they made it up with a missionary trip to somewhere, or maybe they did something else that, that admission office could look into. So it's not a necessary must. I mean, it'll definitely be helpful if you're done research and you can talk about it during your interview, but I wouldn't say it's a must. But I guess the second part of the question was, what kind of extracurriculum were you involved in during UCI? So for me, I was part of PBS, so like you guys are. So that exposed me to pharmacy. The other part, I was also the president of XAE, which is an honor society. I did that for 2 years. And besides that, I also did research. I was in the air pollution lab. I know it doesn't really correlate directly to pharmacy, but we were basically studying the air pollution and air particle PM 2.5 on the effects of cardiovascular health. So that was my lab. And I also did, I was a pharmacy clerk. I was never a technician, but I was really involved with the pharmacy called Wagner Pharmacy. in Santa Ana, California. I did that for 2 years, and I did a lot of different unique research projects, or not research project, a lot of different small project with my pharmacist. And then besides that, I was briefly part of ASUCI, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And I also did a little bit of volunteering at UC Irvine Medical Center. So I guess one of the things that I guess an advice for you all when you guys are applying is, I mean, it's good that you try different type of organization, but I guess it's important to kind of stay one organization. If you have leadership on it, that's even better. So my primary ones were research, my presidential, position on the Honor Society, and also my my pharmacy. So those are my primary ones. The other ones are listed were kind of just for me to try it out, and I realized that wasn't really for me, where I was able to gain something out of it and apply to the other ones. So I guess it's important for you to, not just to try different organizations, but actually to stick with a few ones. I think a mission officer would like to see the progression, and you have spent some time and invest some of your time in certain organizations.
I definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the next one is applied to you, Stephen. How do pharmacy students decide or apply for APPEs? Is it random, or do you apply to the field of your interest?
So
you just did it.
Yeah, I just did it actually. So when you're fourth year with your APPE, what you do is you rank it. So we have 66 students. So it's a lottery essentially. You get to rank either by the site. Let's say, for example, I'm gonna do transplant. I thought transplant was pretty interesting. So either you can rank by that, or you can rank by time. So there's different way you can rank it. And basically, it's a lottery system. You run through it, and you get assigned different rotation. So there's 7 of them total. Some of the ones you have to fulfill are acute care, ambulatory care, community setting, a hospital practice, and 2 electives. So those are the different criteria you have to go through. And when you apply for international mission trip, is there any extra requirement for those? If you would like to go internationally when it comes to your APPE, you could either set up by yourself, or you can go with the list. There is actually a short list of international rotations. So some of my classmates are going to Canada, and one of them is going to Taiwan. It's either or. You can set up through. It's going to be harder if you set up yourself. But our school has contract with a few hospital, at different nation area. Okay, and then I think Kenneth, do you have a question too?
There's another question.
There you go. Yeah, I see it.
Oh, on-campus housing wait lists. When do they usually notify people if they're able to get on campus housing? I leave that to you. I have no idea.
That's a good question. So for me, when I apply on-campus housing too late. So if you guys are, accepted already, I know a few of you applied already, or some people, even if you're still waiting to hear back, you can actually sign up first. Just put your spot down. So I applied way too late, and I actually didn't hear back until basically almost my end of first year. But if they do get back to you, they will definitely send an email to you. Kenneth, did you apply for housing already? Yeah, you did, right? Okay. Yeah. So usually I would just email them or give them a call. I know Kenneth's coming here in the fall, but usually they should notify you once you get it, and you have 24 to 48 hours to accept it. If not, it goes to the next person. So usually it takes a while. I know they're still processing, but I think with the whole COVID situation, it's kind of maybe, it's kind of pushing back the work a little bit. Just keep waiting on it. Just keep on waiting for it. And if not, just go ahead and email or contact them. Yeah, no problem. You're welcome.
Any other questions from anyone? Okay, I'm not hearing any, and I'm not seeing any. Okay, well, it's been lovely talking to all of you today. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out either via email or through Christina. Either of us are happy to answer questions for you, and we'll definitely follow up on the questions with regard to the community college courses versus upper division credits. And I wish you all safety. Please be safe. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Be safe. This is a very weird time. Just be safe and healthy. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's very informative.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I'll stay around. If you guys have any questions about the PowerPoint, will be sent out as well. And then you guys can watch the YouTube video, and then there's supplemental slides down there if you guys wanna just more information about our school. Yeah, but thank you. Yeah, thank you guys very much. And I'll stay a little bit if you guys have any questions.
I'm gonna sign out so I can go do bedtime with my girls. Good
of
night.
course. Bye, Dr. Thomas. I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
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 Hi, Steven.
Yeah.
Do you have any tip for like interviewing or like the process of like preparing for like a graduate school or something like that?
Sorry, you got cut out the second part. You just say your question about interviewing, what for interviewing.
And some tip to prepare for graduate school.
Okay, some tips to prepare for when?
For pharmacy school.
For pharmacy school? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So I guess the first part question, I mean, for me, when I was entering, I applied to 5 school, UCSF, UCSD, USC, North State, and Western U, all in California. I guess the tip for interviewing is I would start with the document with just all the generic questions. You know how they like to ask you generic questions. So we'll go ahead and do that. But the other way is kind of research a little bit, see what kind of interview they do. So some places they do open file, some they do closed file. But you know, I guess when you apply, it depends on the school. But most of them are going to be traditional interviews, going to be 2-on-1. All my interviews were 2-on-1. Of course, with exception with UCSF, that one was MMI. But of course, you know, just want to make sure you know those questions well, like why pharmacy, tell me about yourself, you know, strengths and weaknesses, those generic type of questions. Sometimes they twist it around and then still ask you about it. But the best way to prepare for it, I will keep a few examples in the back of your mind. Of course, you don't want to sound too rehearsed, but at the time, if they ask a question you never prepared that before, you know, you can go ahead and pull up those. I guess, those stories. That's how I prepare it. And MMI, I did some research online with UCSF interview. I know a few other schools they might have MMI as well. But the best way to do it is just see as much, you know, as many situations as possible. So that helps you prepare. In terms of preparation for pharmacy school, I would say UCI actually prepared me pretty well. For me, I was biosci for 2 years, and then at the end of my second year, I transferred to pharmacy because I knew I don't go into pharmacy school. But a lot of classes, especially I would say your 3rd year and your last year, a lot of pharmacology, Dr. Shiner, I don't know if Dr. Jafar is still teaching, but a lot of those classes,
Yes,
they're
she
really
is.
helpful. She is, right? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so her class was really nicely taught. I know for me, when I came in, you know, at Skaggs, a lot of our classmates, they never got exposed to pharmacology, but for me, I have a little bit basic understanding from you know, Dr. Shiner and Dr. Jafari. So those courses were pretty important. And, you know, like nanomedicine, I don't know if you guys are taking nanomed or, you know, that lab, that was okay. But I think you said that prepared me pretty well. But the other thing was just, I have to change up my studying, you know, the way I study a little bit. So of course, everyone studies a little bit differently. But for me, what I realized throughout my journey for the past 3 years was instead of just going through PowerPoint, I start making like charts and tables. I find that to be pretty helpful because just a lot of information. First year, you take a course called Pharmacy Practice, where they ask you, you know, like, oh, when do you refer to see a primary care doctor? When do you see? There's like so many different numbers. Even though it makes sense when you go into PowerPoint. I used to do that. I would just try to absorb as much as possible. But when it comes to exam, it just all goes out your window. And you also have to memorize top 200 drugs. So, I mean, you know, for me, I don't like memorizing, but there's actually a certain amount of memorization required in pharmacy school. And then I just find that, you know, notes and charts helps a lot. Yeah, the other way is I start studying the group as well, also talking it out. Because when you are able to, I guess, explain to others, then that means you really know like what you're talking about. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
Yes, and also speaking about interviews, does SD has MMIs?
No,
Okay.
it's not going to be for a while. So, well, I mean, Dr. Tai is our dean of admission. She really likes this chill and laid back. I want to make sure everyone's comfortable with. I guess Kenneth could talk a little bit more about it, but yeah, so not for a while. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Hi, I was wondering what made you choose UCSD out of all the other pharmacy schools?
Yeah, so that's a really good question actually. So I applied to 5 school and then I got into all the schools except for one, actually. I was waitlisted, and that school was actually UCSD. So for a while, I was actually going to UCSF, but I guess I could kind of tell a few reasons why I decided to go with UCSD at the end. But I guess the first reason was cost of attendance. Not to bash on any other pharmacy school out there, we have a lot in the state of California, but for me, I want to try to save as much money as possible. I mean, so for me, going to public school was going to be the thing. So that was either SF or SD. But when it comes to cost of living, La Jolla is not cheap, which is the neighbor of what San Diego UCSD is in. But SF's, the rent is just out of the roof. So that's part of it. That's the cost of living. So that's why I decided to go with UCSD. Number two was the small class size. I know you guys keep hearing that, but it really does make a difference for me. And I think the faculty really cares. And I was going to go to SF, but my year was going to be the last year, going to be the fourth year. As you guys might know, UCSF now has a three-year program. And my year was going to be the first year to be combined with the incoming 3-year program. So because of that reason, it's going to be around 200 something people graduating. And I thought, well, rather go with the 60 or so students in UCSD. And I think when it comes to choosing rotation or looking for jobs down in the future is very important because there are just so many pharmacy schools out there. I'm sure all of you guys heard that pharmacy is getting a little bit saturated. But being the only pharmacy school in San Diego County, that really helps our students a lot. And I think for me as a student, I think it helps a lot. The third one, it's probably the locations. I mean, my family's from Irvine. I'm from OC. So eventually I do want to practice in California and especially SoCal. So I thought that why don't I just start making connections down here? And then lastly, it's probably pass no pass. I think that really, it really help you get rid of that stress. To me, you can get a 70% where you can get 89%. It's still going to show as a P on your transcript. So you can kind of pick and choose whatever class you think is going to be better and you can actually focus more on it. And that really do, for me, it really do reduce competition. Our classmates actually do show notes. Of course, there's going to be competition like everywhere you go. But that was the part that I thought that, it would take a little bit stress off me and I could focus more on leadership, being an intern at Kaiser and other opportunity. So those were the main reasons. Yeah. But it was, I think it's kind of tough when you guys apply. I probably just do like a pros and cons list. I mean, I was going to SF. I was happy, but eventually I was like, if I go there, I'll probably just go for the ranking. I mean, UCSD's rankings going up is considered a newer school compared to SF, of course. But for me, I was like, if I go to UCSF, I would have done it just for the name. And for me, that doesn't really, that doesn't really help. Yeah, but then I consider USC, Western, and North State's in Sacramento. I didn't want to move up there. And SC's cost a little bit too high, but a lot of my friends go to SC. Western as well, that has a lot big UCI populations. Yeah, so yeah, hopefully that helps you answer the question a little bit. And I know that answer is going to be vary from different person to person. But I guess mine is a little bit unique because I was actually waitlisted at UCSD, but I really want to come here. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
When should people stop worrying about applying for jobs while in pharmacy school, or even joining and getting active in clubs?
Okay, so when you talk about jobs, are you talking about like intern positions, or are you talking about like future, like actual career jobs?
Like intern positions.
Positions? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's a good question. Usually, in terms of clubs and organization, I usually recommend. I know Ken, if you come to UCSD, but usually first year, I guess first quarter, just try to go to as many club meetings. We have a lot of different organizations on campus. Just try to get a feel to see what you want to do in the future. I mean, we have like psychiatry, oncology, hospital pharmacists. So I would just say first quarter, kind of get your feet wet. But then second and third quarter, that's when people start running for leadership positions on board. In terms of job, I will actually wait until probably spring. If you're a classmate, they came into pharmacy school with job, a lot of you are probably CVS Tech, Walgreens, or Rite Aid. I mean, it's great if they can upgrade you from a tech to an intern, you can do that. But I probably recommend actually not working until your spring quarter. A lot of times that's when the hospital come out, Kaiser comes out, Rady, which is a children's hospital in San Diego. A lot of different job opportunity usually opens up in spring. So most people don't end up working until spring quarter of first year.
Thank you.
Any other questions you guys have?
Oh, hi.
Hello. Hey.
Hello. Sorry, I have a quick question.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if you covered this, but I was wondering, like, how did you like cover the cost of going to pharmacy school, or if you got financial aid?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think that was actually part of the PowerPoint actually. I think Dr. Sander I think she was clicking too fast. I think we might have to skip that part. But either way, the tuition, it's about, the in-state is going to be about 14,000. I mean, if you cost of attendance about like 39,000, 40,000. But that's like depending on where you live and, and stuff. But for me, how I usually cover it is, there's different way you can go around it. So the first way is, of course, you can get grants. I mean, there's different type of grants. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but usually people go with the federal Grad Plus loan. Usually the interest rate are lower. The other ones is actually the school actually does provide gift aids. So every single year you fill your FAFSA still and you fill an application with the school financial aid office and you actually get some free money. So that's actually really nice because the school actually does kind of help you out a little bit. So it really depends. It depends on merit and also on need as well. But usually it's about $1,000 to $25,000 per student, depending on your need. So that's a part that you can also get funding. And then the last way you can go around it is by applying for scholarships. Skaggs also has a scholarship as well, which is an application process. They kind of ask you like, so what have you been doing at Skaggs? Are you doing any community outreach? Are you working? What are you doing? And with those one, they usually give you a few $100 to a few $1,000. So those are usually the 3 different ways people get funded to be able to afford it.
Hello?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you have a question? Yeah.
Oh, so for the scholarship, is that like is there any some scholarship that like be able to transfer for every single year? For example, you got that scholarship in your like P1 and then it's continued to P2, P3, or you need to apply it for every single year?
Usually it's every single year. It depends on the type of scholarship. So one of the example was a scholarship, I believe that's with Walmart, but it depends. So that one is actually, they want to give it to students who are interested in going to academia in the future, or if they're doing research, but usually those are just one time only. So you kind of have to look into different options. But usually those scholarships are usually outside. They're not affiliated with UCSD. And it depends on what type of scholarship is. You might be competing with, students from California, or is it a national scholarship? But usually it's only a one time only.
And
So you
for
have
the
to apply every single year unless you apply to different type of scholarship.
okay, and for the gift aid that you say like the school will give to you, is that you apply at when you apply for like the pharmacy school as well, or is that how you got the gift aid?
The gift aid, that one you fill it out when you apply, or I mean not when you apply for pharmacy school. I think once you admit it, right before you start, you should fill out. I will still fill out, a FAFSA. I know you guys, some of you guys probably do it in the FAFSA. I will still do it. You can do it as a grad student. Of course, you don't get any funding for it. But you do that, and after you do that, the school looks at it, they process it, and the school send out an applications. They're gonna ask you whether you want to take federal loans or private loans, or do you want to apply for like schools, I guess, gift aids. And then once the school processes it, they will just direct deposit to you. But I would say most of our classmates do get it, or a lot of people who do get it. But again, that's based mainly on needs, based on the income, either for you or for your family, depending on how you file your taxes.
Also,
Like,
quick,
your question?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it's also for me because like it took me about 6 years to actually got the BS. I don't know is that like is there any specific year like for to apply for the loan or the gift aid from like graduate school for pharmacy school?
No, I don't think so. I mean, as long as you haven't, well, of course you haven't taken out any grad loans out yet, because you're not a grad student. But I know, even though you spend more time to getting your BS, but that shouldn't be a factor. But some of my friends, I mean, depends. Some people do max out. I don't know the certain limit, but there's a max you can borrow from the federal government. If you max out, then you go to the different one, which has a higher interest rate. But since you're never taking out loans with the Grad Plus program, then you will basically start whatever money however much they can get. So you should be okay. Yeah, you shouldn't be maxed out or anything because you haven't borrowed yet.
Sorry, is that cover in tuition and fee for the school only, or is that covers partially or some of the cost of living as well?
Cost of living doesn't matter. Yeah, it really depends. So the tuition itself at UCSD is about, let me look at the PowerPoint. It's 15,000 for resident. If you're California, it's 15,000 per year. So with those ones, if you borrow federal loans, whatever, it doesn't matter. They don't care about, I guess, how you spend the money. You can cover tuition, you can cover household, your housing, your grocery, your spending, doesn't really matter. As long as you don't max out. I don't know what the cap is, and I think it changes from year to year. Yeah, but it can be covered whatever you would like.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Are there any more questions? All right, if there's no more questions, thank you, Stephen, for staying behind for a lot of time. And yeah, thank you so much for doing all of this, especially with coronavirus. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, of course, no problem. Yeah, no problem, Ken, and thanks for having me. So let me know if you guys have any question. I mean, I'll send out the PowerPoint. You can just add me on Facebook, or just add me on Instagram. Yeah, I'll try my best to answer as many questions as I could.
Cool.
Yeah, all right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, thanks for having us. You guys have a good one.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you everyone else for coming.